I call to order the Etna Township Board of Trustees regular meeting here on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Burkholder?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here.
Ms. McKee, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bow your heads, please. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us that trespasses, and forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Mr. Evans, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a discussion on the planner position under old business E. I've asked for several items on the agenda and they weren't added. I think this is one of the most important ones, so I'd like a discussion, get information on that. So that's my motion.
I'll second the motion to amend to add planner under item E under old business. Is that correct, Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Amendment passes. Any further discussion on the main motion to adopt the agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
The agenda is adopted. Is there a motion to adopt the January 21st, 2025 regular Township Trustee meeting minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
I was just recently, we were provided these Friday and just recently been able to review these. There's numerous errors. I haven't been able to review it in full because I think it'll take watching the meeting again. Votes are incorrect. There's votes that are 5-0 that has our administrator and fiscal officer voting, and there's some other corrections. So I moved to table these.
Is there a second to the motion to table? Well, if you're going to talk about errors, I guess first of all, I didn't see any 5-0 votes.
I'd have to get a pull up real quick.
Please do.
There's two that are 5-0.
There has been voting issues with the diligent software to where they've added the zoning commission to our boards, and I go in there before the meeting to make sure that the voting members are correct. About the last 5 meetings, whether it be zoning commission or it be board of trustees, they've got somebody in the wrong spot of being a voting member.
But-
There's
They have to go-
typos, and we can fix that
But-
stuff for us.
And they go in on the back end and they have to fix it for me.
But what's being reviewed, and I saw Mr. Burkholder reviewed and submitted changes, are the Word document minutes, and that's what's being reviewed, and that is what has the 5-0 votes, the other people voting, and some other errors. So as far as the diligent, I'd be happy to get that because there's been other changes, and I think it depends on how it's done correctly. But again, these are reviewed based on the actual file that's in there and that was provided to everybody, and those, we don't have 5 members, so that should be something easy to spot, regardless of if there's any issues with the system, because this is what we're actually.
But as for the diligent, I've sent them multiple emails and screenshots of where there's a glitch in the voting members and members who are in voting sections that aren't supposed to be there. So it's not a mistake on my part.
My concern is that members on the board are reviewing these and not finding
Did you
these
send
simple
any of your
mistakes.
corrections, Mr. Evans?
No, sir, because these were provided Friday, and it's a lot to go through. There are 10 pages maybe to go through, and with the votes and that, so just with the short amount of time, was not able to thoroughly go through, but like I said, a cursory review, we don't have 5 members, and the administrator and fiscal officer don't vote, so clearly it contains errors and it wasn't thoroughly reviewed.
Well, I will, I know that an email, I'm going to support the tabling, but I have a few comments. First of all, we've had continued problems with diligence, so I think we do need to see what the problem is on the software on the back end. Secondly, the administrative assistant did send out an email, and I would hope so that we can keep these minutes moving forward and getting caught up that all members of the board. So I will support this, but let's get these corrections made so that at the next meeting they can be approved and as the rest of the minutes, but I think we need to look into diligent. I'm a little disappointed that the software, and I understand your point, you make a good point if the minutes aren't correct and if the voting's wrong, but it seems that there's a problem or a glitch in the software as well. So,
No, I don't believe, I'll have to look at it, but there's a lot of things that are saying that there are errors, and it's user error, or one thing's not clicked right, and like I said, I have had zero contact with that for quite a while because I'm just not involved anymore. I'd be glad to, because I know the system, I know that, and have worked with them quite a bit, and it's a great system. It's just got to be set up right, and even creating these minutes, how the agendas are set up there kind of lets it slide into the meeting and then the minutes where you don't have a lot of corrections and stuff like that. So,
well, then I suggest you work with staff so that we can get these errors corrected. I'll second to table. Is there a vote, is a roll call on the motion to table?
Mr. Evans?
yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
No.
Public comments, 3 minutes. Who would like to go first? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and please direct the board. Is there anyone that would like to speak tonight?
Mr. Hodge?
Mr. Hodge, please come forward. By the way, I did receive your phone call, but I'm glad you're here.
Thanks. Great to see everybody. My name is David Hodge. I'm an attorney based out of New Albany. Been here before the board many times in the past, and represent several area developers with different interest in the township and interest in actually doing more in the township. The main reason I'm here tonight, though, is to talk with the board about a lot split that I'm working on, and I don't know that the full board has the information. I have some handouts here. If I could approach.
You may.
Has this been given to our administrator?
Yes, administrator has a copy of some of the text changes, but this will show the map as far as the split.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So this.
Mr. Hodge, would you mind, maybe start before you get into this, talking about some of the change in the plat language, since that is connected to this?
I don't have
Oh.
that. I don't have that here with me tonight, Mr. Burkholder.
Oh, that's fine.
I know that there are other things that need to happen before we really make that issue ripe, so I didn't.
Right, but
But I can't, if you want me to touch on it.
well,
briefly, I'm
just
happy to.
merely that there are some changes rather than having an association regarding the text on the maintenance of the detention or retention pond, which is on park property. There's been some changes in the proposed changes by Mr. Hodge in that language, and that we received recently. And I advised Mr. Hodge, though, that until we engaged Bricker Graydon, that we would have to have that language change, and the fact that it would go on the plat that would have to have legal review. And I had also advised that issue of engaging Bricker Eckler would probably, hopefully, take place here tonight, so there would be a little bit of delay. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. And
Go ahead with, I've done it, so go ahead with the
Okay.
lot
All
split.
right, very good. So if you look at the aerial photograph, which is the first map that I gave you, there's an area that I drew a bold line around. That property is actually connected with the property to the south and to the west. It got combined somewhere along the way, so this is part of the Etna Township Park property, and that's all one big parcel. I was directed actually by Licking County Planning to split that lot out. And so the area in bold would be split out and connected into the Broyles, I think, Phase 2 plat. And so that's really all this is. I am 98% of the way through putting this information into the Licking County OpenGov system, but the final part that I need from the township is sign off. It requires Etna Township sign off to complete my OpenGov application, and so I'm here simply to get this on the trustees and the administrator's radar so that we can complete that process to allow this split. The deed that's attached creates the split. The deed is from Etna Township to Etna Township, which is the mechanism at the county level to create the parcel split. So the property is going to, there's going to be an invisible line that gets created there, but the property is today owned by Etna Township, and when the lot is split, it'll also be owned by Etna Township.
Can I ask you a question? That's our property, correct?
It is your property.
How is Licking County Planning directing you to take action to split?
I've never quite understood, as it was associated, Mr. Evans, with the Drayton Hall plat, which is on down to the west of here. And all of the parcel reconfigurations and splits and combinations necessary to get your Etna Township Park in the configuration that's acceptable to them from a subdivision regulation perspective.
So you're saying because I remember speaking with Angela that they weren't aware of this combination and combining of the split before, or the lots before.
And that was done by others, yes, sir.
Yeah, I know. But you're saying that you're involved because the property that it was combined with is part of the property. I mean, there was the Guerin property and then there's the Drayton Hall.
If I might approach and just show.
Yeah, I think I know, but that's why you were saying you were involved.
So, correct. So essentially what's going to happen is this black parcel that I've emboldened is going to get split off and then added to the plat for Broyles up here to the north. That's going to leave the balance of this parcel to then get combined with this, which is your park property, and also combined with this. So that, at the end of that, is going to be one large parcel of property.
Okay. I'm just confused as why you're involved, why the township wouldn't have directed our council to handle it and.
Well, the work is 99.9% of the way done. Just got to finalize this last element in OpenGov, and then it'll be done. But again, the transfer is from Etna to Etna. We just create a parcel line here, which allows the Broyles plat to own that emboldened portion. And that's the only reason I wanted to come out tonight, is see if I could maybe nudge that element along just a little bit.
Well, I think personally, I think we'd have to, I wouldn't be comfortable with moving forward without legal counsel on our side looking at it. I mean, I'm concerned that it was combined in the beginning anyway, and yeah, so.
Very good.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
I'm Chuck Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road, Southwest. I could ask about the comprehensive plan, and I could ask about the Pike Street upgrade, and I could ask about the proposed park. Somebody already did that. But I'm not going to ask about those things. I'm going to ask about 10077 Tollgate Road. You know, there are things going on in this township that we don't understand, and we as citizens should understand what's going on. It seems to be hidden right there in that group in front of us. And I'm not even sure this is the right group to be discussing this, but I have written 2 letters to Mr. Neville Walker, I believe his name. Watson. And also Ted Walker?
Yes, correct, sir.
Okay, I've written 2 letters to both of those men and in the last 2 weeks asking about the 10077 warehouse that's being built. And I have yet to receive a response from either one of them. Now that's, I know they have a lot to do. I understand that. But this is something that we're concerned about on Tollgate Road. And we would like to have a response from one or both of those guys. I asked about on-site inspections that they did, haven't heard anything. So I have asked for a plan for the warehouse that's being built over there. And what they sent me was this 10-page construction drawing for the lot plan. That's not all I'm talking about. I'm talking about this warehouse. We got enough warehouses and they're all ugly. And here you're wanting to put in another warehouse on Tollgate Road, which I don't know what it's going to look like. So is this the wrong group to be discussing with? I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up to you people and hope that somebody somewhere will listen. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Just quickly, I'd like to say it is the right group. We oversee everything, and I've been asking for those same answers, and I'm not getting them.
Well, Mr. Evans, I suggest you get with the administrator and make an appointment or come in and talk to the administrator.
I've attempted numerous times to discuss many issues, and I do not get a response.
Okay.
Well, we as citizens of the township, we should have some sort of response when we ask for a response. I'm not getting them.
Thank you. Next.
Rachel Zelazny, 10141 Tollgate Road Southwest as well. And I'm curious also why our township keeps approving projects to people and businesses that have outstanding violations. Recently, our zoning provided a permit for a flex warehouse that's conditionally approved on the concrete property and already has multiple violations on that property. Working towards another stop work order for the 10077 property from Licking County, and our township still can't say what the warehouse will be used for. For anybody that doesn't know, in October, Caldo lost their BZA appeal for a ready-mix cement plant that our BZA already denied. And prior to that, concrete and asphalt codes were both removed from our zoning code, and one due to the hazardous materials next to a residential zone. I also brought to this board over the summer that there's no occupancy permit and how they failed multiple inspections with the building inspectors. To this day, they're still occupying the building with no permit. I did hear that they did just get approved for some of their inspections last month, like January 28th or something. But the flooding still continues. The outdoor storage is out of hand. The buffers are non-existent, and 3 years later, we're still not following our zoning code. When are we going to enhance or enforce our zoning laws and not encourage violations after violation by granting new permits when the original ones are not fulfilled? For that.
Thank you.
And I agree with your concerns.
Who's next? Anyone else?
Yeah.
Matthew Brown, 46 River Park Boulevard. First off, I appreciate there being no action on a lot split that neither you guys nor us residents have a chance to even review anything I really hope those documents can be made available to the residents as soon as possible so we can see what you all have been trying to shove towards us.
Is your microphone on? We can't hear you at all.
A little bit better?
Are you gonna pull it up?
Yeah, pull it up if you can a little bit. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I am a little hoarse with the cold weather here. Couple of things looking at the budget today. I appreciate getting tools for our road crew. Our road crew does an amazing job, but I'd really like to see us get quotes on this stuff better. I'm seeing a $3,000 purchase for a single piece of equipment that my company uses the same equipment for, that we bought for a fifth of the price for 2 units. And then seeing a $30,000 quote for garage repairs with not a single quote from anyone else is really concerning. I know that it's been pushed by several members of the board to get quotes, and I'm not sure, for multiple places. I'm not sure why that's still not happening, but yet it's making it to the agenda. And I will say that for anyone who was not here last week, it was very nice to see the cordialness to getting through the budget. But it'd be nice for the residents to be able to see what that budget was prior to it being brought to the board for a vote. That's all I've got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't have much tonight, but I also on the, but on public records requests, and this is the list provided to me by Ms. Bedslow of the agreed outstanding public records request. And they go back to May 24th, so that's at least 9 months. Some of this is simple, like Mr. Evans providing his video that he took. And also the video or audio recordings from the meetings. You keep saying that you're going to have an opinion from the prosecutor. Have you had that?
Have we?
No, we have not received that yet.
But Mark, there's no one to blame for not having the August 6th video released. And most all these others here are emails that have to do with you. So the rest of this is pretty simple stuff. And when can I expect the whatever you're going to do about the recordings for the executive sessions? Mr. Evans' actions made them public, and the public would want to hear them. I'm not the only one that's requested these.
I understand that. I don't think, have we heard anything back from the prosecutor on those? I think those were forwarded to the prosecutors, and
They have been.
I empathize with, well, it goes through the administrator, Mr. Evans, so we voted at the previous meeting, but it's my understanding those went to the prosecutor. I don't have an answer for you.
Ms. Betzel, did they go to the prosecutor on that executive session?
Some of the
matter?
requests have gone, we prioritized what was.
Has that specific request gone?
The one regarding.
The executive session audio?
I believe it has.
Can you verify that, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't remember the
Go ahead, Mr.
order.
Hanson.
Well, that's about it. We're looking, these are, it's supposed to be a public organization, and there should be public release of these records. So I find them constantly blocked. Mr. Evans blames you. You're saying the prosecutor's not doing it, and but the majority of them can be done by Mark and Mark alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Anyone else?
Alicia Zacher, 79 Trail East, Etna. Today I came in to speak with Gary regarding some posts that I've seen from Jason Robinson online. And some I've had copies of. I asked for a copy of the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, which I was afforded. And I provided him some of these. These are inexcusable to women. Things you post about name calling, inappropriate things, and personnel, people who represent this township shouldn't have those posts online. They shouldn't be seen, really shouldn't post them, but if you're gonna post them, take them down if you're gonna hold a position. I asked the board to review what I provided you, share it, and then look at 4.1 and under the employee manual. Take a look at that. The disgusting things that are said about women and residents of this township is not somebody who should sit at those tables and make decisions for residents of this township. Things when you talk about people's daughters, when you talk about people sitting in booths and disgusting displays, those things matter because they're still out there. They're public record. Maybe you can't get your public records, but anybody can get this public record. It's on Facebook, something that he controls. And he controls it under the Etna community page. So some people get to see it, some don't. But I think if you represent this township, you shouldn't be putting that stuff out there for people to see. It's disgraceful. And it's really not something that women want to see in 2025 of someone kidnapped, put in the back.
Beautiful meme that everybody laughed at during.
It's disgusting. You should take it down. I asked the board to look at this and remove that gentleman from that board. He shouldn't have those types of things up there. And it shouldn't be about women. And it sounds like it is a lot to do with women. Everything I gave you, sir, is about women. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Wow. Anyone else at this time?
It's a pot calling the kettle black.
You're out of order,
I'm
Mr.
sorry, I didn't
Evans.
hear you.
You're out
So
of
that's the
order.
pot
You're
calling
out of
the
order,
kettle
Mr.
black.
Evans.
Of what's stated on the
You
uncensored
are
site.
out
I don't
of
hold a
order.
position here. He does.
You did.
That's disrespectful to women.
Stop. We're not going to continue the meeting with these outbreaks
Thank you.
from the board or
I don't think that was appropriate for
Stop.
Robert's rules. If you
Stop,
want
Mr.
to
Evans.
hold some decorum to allow your supporters to attack those that aren't.
my supporters.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has a right to speak in this as long as they're civil about it.
Is that okay?
Okay. I'll make a motion to go into executive session per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G to consider the employment and compensation of a public employee.
So moved.
There's a second by Ms. McKee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
The time is 6:27. We'll be in executive session. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Evans. Time is 7:09. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
We're out of executive session. Okay, we'll now have the administrator's report. Ms. Betzel, please.
First of all, I apologize that it didn't get attached, which I realized that this morning. Two things that I'd like to update everybody on. The planner position, we did have interviews. Unfortunately, the candidate that was selected that would have been presented to the board withdrew. And so in looking at the remaining resumes, there are none that are sufficient to, they don't meet the minimum requirements for the position, unfortunately. And so that position is going to be reposted. We're going to go ahead and just leave it posted until such time as it has been filled. We will, of course, incrementally take the applications that have been submitted and even potentially interview for candidates if we have candidates that meet the minimum requirements. So that position is going to have to remain empty for just a little bit longer. So, but hopefully within the next, after we repost it, I'm going to try and get it posted this week, reposted this week to all of the places we had posted it previously. Then hopefully within a couple weeks we might be able to have some candidates that are eligible to be interviewed. Secondarily, I just want to give a little update on the administrator position. Obviously, a search will need to be done for, again, we did have a candidate that withdrew from consideration, and so a search will need to be done to find a new administrator. Again, because there's a gap, there may be some discussion regarding an interim person, but that search will, in all likelihood, of course, no final decision has been made by the board yet, but in all likelihood will be conducted in the same manner that it was conducted last time, so that there's a pool of good candidates. That's all.
Anything else? Thank you. Old business. Royals Farm, Section 1, final plat review and signing. Ms. Bedsole, if you'd like to
Sure.
comment on that, please.
One, I appreciate all of the information that was provided to the township. I did forward that to one of our firms that we have an agreement with, a continuing agreement with. They did do a full review of that information that was sent. We did, in fact, need to provide them with additional information, all of the PUD language and those type of things. So there was a full review done by McBride Dale, and they did approve the signing of the plat by the board. They didn't see any conflict, any issues that would be detrimental to the township.
On that, you mentioned the continuing agreement. The last meeting we had that proposal, the agreement to reinstate. Was there some automatic renewal on that agreement, or?
Well, we still had dollars left over from the last time, from the.
But wasn't it an annual agreement?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, I wasn't here.
My concerns.
But you did the original one.
My concerns with that, and especially like Bricker and Graydon, they were apparently directed to do work in January where there's no outside agreement, and.
We'll discuss that when we get to.
Okay, but.
To that one.
I'm concerned, like I said, I believe it was an annual agreement with a certain set amount for 2024, and
But we did carry that over into 2020.
But the agreement was for 2024. I just want to make sure, we should, it's not hard to do things right, and, I mean, all these continuing agreements should have been handled in December to allow continuation of services. I mean, I'm glad they did it, but how we got there, I don't believe is proper.
I know, Mr. Evans, you've mentioned that several times. So what's the pleasure of the board? Are we ready to move forward and sign the plats of the, on the Royals Farm, Section 1, final plat review and signing? I believe there are 3. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this at this time? I think it's, a signature line for 3 trustees, is that correct? If you want to come to the podium, please, and I know you've stated your name in the past, but if you don't mind doing it again, appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Molly Gwynn, address is 250 West Street, Columbus, Ohio. I'm the attorney for the applicant, American Home, AMH Development, and yes, there are 3 lines for the 3 trustees' signatures. And again, we appreciate the review by McBride Dale and the finding that this does comply with the approved final development plan. And with that, we would request signature, and I can notarize your signatures for you this evening.
Yeah, I have it in my office.
Okay?
I'm a little concerned with the process. I see that the review was done last week, and there was an email from Liz last week that was only forwarded today.
Yep.
Why are those things kind of being withheld from?
They're not.
The kind of
intentionally
last
withheld,
minute
that's my
stuff.
oversight.
Hold it, Mr. Evans, let the administrator speak, please.
That was just my oversight. It went to multiple people, and
We were off on Monday, we had a holiday, so is there a motion to go ahead and have the Board of Trustees sign this
Go
plat?
ahead and make a motion.
You made the motion?
Yes, I
Is
did.
there a second? I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2025-005 Bricker Grading Contract, which the board has a copy of, and this is the resolution employing township attorneys on the annual basis for the year 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
No second.
Okay, second by Mr. Evans. Discussion.
Yes, I've been trying to get a discussion on this for quite a while now with the administrator. I have not gotten a response. My concern is the Bricker and Graydon, the work product. There were issues with the BZA case, and there were some other things. Was that solely due to Mr. Burkholder's lack of communication, or was that something on their side? I believe it's important to discuss, and I haven't been able to get a discussion on that. And then tied to that, we have an invoice for over $1,900 where ORC requires approval for special counsel to be done annually. It wasn't, yet that work was performed. Why?
That was continuing. I talked to Mr. Conover today, and it's my understanding that was continuing work that we previously supported regarding the TIFs and some JEDSIs and getting that alignment, so.
But it requires annual unless it's for a specific matter, and the JEDs and the TIFs were not a specific matter. It was authorized under the annual ORC requirement. So again, we can't just willy-nilly decide what we want to do, we've got to follow the proper rules, procedure, in this case, the law. That ORC requires that. And again, I attempted numerous times, Ms. Betzel, I don't want to put you in the hot seat, but asking about this, to have that discussion about my
And we've had
concerns.
conversations about it, so
We have not, since I've sent you that. I haven't got a text, email, or call. I've asked you numerous times, repeating my request and without.
And I understand what you're saying. I do also understand Bricker is not of the same opinion, the attorneys are not of the same opinion as you are with respect to the work that they did in January. At the end of the day.
Okay, outside of January, the issues, and we've had that discussion before about their work product and that, in light of the BZA case. And that's what I wanted, and I think it is fair to discuss prior, and I don't see any
the fact is,
willingness to do that.
I can't make any of those decisions. That is a board decision whether or not you feel that Bricker is the right counsel for you to have.
Right, but what I'm saying is I attempted to speak with you
Okay,
to
Mr.
gain.
Evans,
No,
you've made your point. To continue to reiterate.
No. It's not reiterating,
Yeah,
but
yes, you've made
it's
your
highly
point.
concerning that when we're paying over $300 an hour again.
I know, Mr. Evans, but you're not going to continue to weaponize and relitigate.
It's not weapon, it's
and
about
relitigate
doing what's
and
right.
relitigate the past. You
Mr.
claim-
Burkholder, this should have been done in December. You failed to, and even the letter from Bricker and Graydon offering their contract was January 11th. You did not even have that for the February 4th meeting. Why?
And Mr. Evans, you apparently knew about it prior to the meeting, and did you Why didn't you bring that and put that on the agenda? Because you knew about it. You waited until the meeting to play another
No.
gotcha, which is
No.
you do consistently.
No.
So do you have any
Don't lie.
I
comments?
don't have any comments on this.
I'll call the question,
Please
please.
call for the question.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Next item, the official Downing contract, Resolution 2025-006, official Downing contract. That is a resolution employing the township's attorney on an annual basis for the year 2025 with that firm. Ben Albrecht is who we've been working with official Downing, Albrecht, and Rippenoff. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second the motion. Discussion.
Again, tempted conversation here because I am concerned that the firm was used for employee handbook, which was riddled with errors and conflicts in procedures. And again, was this the firm or was this what they were directed to do? It's something that we should discuss and not just look past the errors, because again, the employee handbook, anybody could look at, and for those type of errors is kind of shocking to have. And I actually got that the Friday before the Tuesday that was shoved through, and it was just astonishing. And aren't we going to have a discussion and want proper representation? And maybe there should be a change, but I think that just automatically approving this.
And for the record, I was not on the board at the time that handbook was adopted or prepared. Correct, Mr. Evans?
It's correct, but when you're campaigning, you were certainly against, I believe, using this firm again
Well,
because of the errors and
I
the
don't-
outstanding stuff.
I
But
don't
again,
recall that.
well, seem to not recall a lot of stuff. But no, I think it's important that we have proper representation. But again, were they directed to do something?
Well, I
Or
know,
was it on their side making those errors? Because again,
I
at
know
the
you
extreme
like to-
amount we pay, it should be correct.
I know you like to imply a lot of false narratives, but
No, anybody look at the employee handbook. Look at the
Well,
errors.
I just want to make it, I have something.
Go ahead,
Please,
Ms.
Mr. Burkholder.
Yes, ma'am.
Ben Albright, Fisher Downey was selected by you, Mr. Evans, and you met them at our interconference, so that's how we ended up with this firm.
But who
There were
directed?
mistakes, I admit, in the employee's handbook that had nothing to do with us as the board members. So they're familiar with the contract, so I think this is another reason why we're trying to continue with a firm that's familiar with us, because we are in the middle of our new contract that's still to be in the next month or so.
The union, right?
The union contract, yes.
Well, I would just like to clarify for everybody, you were the one that was directing the work on the union contract and the employee handbook without any input from the board except outside the board with Mr. Johnson and the open meetings violation.
Okay,
So I'm just going to be clear, Mr. Evans. You started out with the contract and you handed it over to me, and me being a good trustee said I would take the work because I don't turn down work. So
No.
this is why I ended up, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I think we should move forward with this firm, and they're familiar with Etna Township. They're familiar with our union contract, so I don't see why we would not move forward with them.
then I'll call the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No?
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Resolution 2025-006 is passed. Item D, treble contract. This is the treble management contract that the township has as part of our aggregation. I know, Mr. Evans, you've done a lot of work with this, so.
We've got a meeting set for Thursday at 1 p.m. We have not received any documents as requested. I'm a little concerned about that.
What documents?
What the documents that they're proposing for the next term's aggregation. The one thing that There were two contracts approved, an underlying contract that I believe we should not have entered, but it was for 41 months.
Correct.
And there was the 2-year aggregation supply contract. So I'd like to see if what they're proposing. I'm sure they have something in mind. And I'm going to request again that they send those documents, but I definitely think that we should not extend the aggregation term past their underlying contract. That would just kind of lock us in overlapping things. So I'll be able to give an update at the next meeting, but Ms. Betzel, the administrator, she's participating in that Zoom also.
That's correct. One of the questions I have, Mr. Evans, do you feel that regarding that the management agreement, which I agree with you on, should we send that to the prosecutor to see as far as not remaining in that contract?
Well, I definitely think it should be reviewed. Additionally, with that, during the prior term, they were committed to a set fee, which these new terms, they're secret fees. They're not stated.
It's secret, and they don't have to share
No,
that.
it's secret, but in the prior terms, but for, I think it was 13, maybe a little different time frame, that there was no oversight of that. And during those times, even our attorneys were charging us more than they should have. We got refunds. I did public records requests on those documents to just ensure that they were providing or were being paid no more than what they were allowed, because if they were being paid more, they're charging more. So I believe that should be combined with that review, just to make sure that they did what they were supposed to do before, and going forward that we can see what our options are in this contract. And again, it will depend a lot on what they're proposing.
It's my understanding that while we don't have a resolution to forward this to the prosecutor, if we make a motion and provide the audio, that should be sufficient to get an opinion from the Lincoln County prosecutor. So do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to send this to the county prosecutor for review of the current treble contracts and the prior treble contracts with the public records request made.
I'll second that. Any discussion? And please note that if you want to track the audio, it's at 7:29. If there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
That motion passes, and we'll forward it to the county prosecutor for an opinion. New business, item A.
Well,
I'm
the
sorry,
e-planner, I just had one comment on that.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, you do, go ahead.
There's some new members here. I just want to make it clear, while we are looking at the planner, one of my frustrations has been, we approved unanimously last February 20th to post that position. It was purposely withheld by the board president for over 314 days. These are the kind of issues that are causing problems in this township that should have been addressed quite a while ago.
Well, I will refute that false narrative as from Mr. Evans, but I'd also like to note that I supported extending the contract for our in-house contract planner, which both of my colleagues voted against, and as a result, that's why you're seeing the delay in these reviews of plats and a lot of the other plans that are coming in. That's why the township is falling behind, because we don't have the in-house planner. And given the fact that the planner that we interviewed withdrew their consideration, we're now back without an in-house planner, so.
Well, I voted against because there was no assurance that the planner, in-house planner position, which should have been sought, would be sought. Because again, after 314 days, and anybody can watch the video to show that we voted unanimously.
I disagree.
I voted against the planner from the first time that we were interviewing him, excuse me. And also, I did reach out to the planner 3 months into his position to ask for a report, so I can give it the information to the residents and also to the board. And he made it clear that as a consultant, he didn't need to report that to me. So I waited another few months, and then we ended up having our new administrator, and I remember reaching out to her as well. And she said we weren't ready to give that report because we had some stuff that needed to be dealt with. With that being said, if we have a planner here for a whole year and you cannot provide me with any kind of reports, I don't feel the need that he needs to be here in the township doing the work. I want to see work done for the $80 an hour that we were paying him.
And I agree with Ms. McKee because there were several issues. The one on the Hillview vet that the planner worked on for a month and a half, and we had no idea why it wasn't addressed. And for any trustee to ask for information should be provided, especially any public records requests. I've had to file them myself and they're ignored. So there's a lot of issues that I think we've got to deal with, but we need to start just moving on the right path.
Well, since there'll be no action on the planner, we'll move to new business resolution to adopt final 2025 township budget. Is there a motion to adopt the final?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I've got a couple things in here. I see the lighting district was added. I didn't see where the truck, the new plow truck for 200,000 was added. Do you know where that is?
Should be under a road.
I didn't see because there was a $400,000 indication for machinery and equipment, I think, but it listed other items. And one of the other, under general fund, where the gator, half the cost of the gator, why are we only indicating half the cost when it would be the full cost if we're gonna be reimbursed from the jet, or that would be on the revenue side?
Wait a minute, you said being reimbursed from the JED for the gate?
Or they have half the cost, we can't just.
Right, no, we should put the full amount on there, but I don't know about the
Correct.
reimbursement, yes.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if it was anticipated that we're gonna get a grant, or is that, we're paying the full amount and then we'd get the
Right,
grant that
exactly.
would go to, so there's the expense and revenue side, you shouldn't combine them there. So I think if you're thinking 15, that should be 30. Machinery, equipment, and furniture. I wish these had page numbers. I mean, I could do 1,760, 740. It says new phones, computers, security system. Is that where the plow truck is? Construction capital outlay? Because I didn't see anywhere else it could be.
Yeah, that's probably where we put it. In with
That wouldn't be in the road, should be in the roads in
with
there?
the machinery, equipment, and furniture, under 760, 740. Is that where it was at, Ms. Jackie? Yes.
And then the other, repairs and maintenance, this looks like the, streets, highway, curbs, and sidewalks. I think that's where the prior amount still isn't corrected because we had that $630,000 single payment. But there's only 300,000 in there. Typically, we budget $1 million. We've been able to do the cost-cutting measures, but I think it might be over 300,000. Is that for the road paving and rejuvenation?
Where are you at? Over on 330, 360, under the gasoline tank state highway.
221, 330, 360. Because it says to help with estimated paving. So I'm not sure what the board's going to approve, but I was going to speak with Dominic at Strauser and several other vendors to look at maybe what we should be doing.
There's the vehicle, huh? Plowing vehicle. It's a new plowing vehicle.
New plowing vehicles,
Yeah, it's down on that same prop, on that same,
yeah.
There is the plow in there.
yeah, on down from that.
20217675.
Zero.
Then the other thing I had, the HRA accounts, it still looks like they're using the HSA portion, which isn't applicable anymore for employees. But even if you're using the total exposure at 50%, I think it's even off then, especially depending on the policy. If there's family, children, we have more exposure there. I don't think that's accurately reflected.
Well, you have it under,
There's different ones for, I know zoning.
224.
Zoning was 5,400, which was twice the 2,700. It was increased to 6,000. However, our total out-of-pocket exposure is 7,500 per covered individual. And if you have a utilization rate of, I think last year's, you guys were saying it came out to 50%. That would be 3,750. And if there's two individuals in there, so it's more than the 6,000. But if they have children, and that also increases that exposure. So I don't think we're properly reflecting what those costs could be.
make it up to 15.
Well, I think
Right there, you only have one person on there.
That's it?
In the zoning.
No, but in the line it says for the planner and the zone. So you're anticipating two people and 6,000. Well, if the planner comes in with a family, that exposure's more. Just to say, well, I could do it 15, or I don't know if we're just guesstimating, or, I mean, it's an easy calculable number.
And there's some changes going to happen in the because the contract went into May.
Yeah.
May.
Budget for the higher number
Yeah.
of what it might
Yeah.
potentially be, and then you're
We
covered.
can always, yeah.
And then the other question I had is on the health district. It states 60,000 for property taxes and health department. Why are property taxes in health as payment to another political subdivision?
That's where it's been.
In the health district?
That's where the property taxes were last year and the year before.
But I thought that's what, because we discussed those, that line item. Because the only health department was mosquitoes, and I know last year it was hardly used. But
Last
wouldn't
year
property
was like
taxes be,
$2,000.
but would property taxes be in a separate category? Not in health?
Yeah, health was supposed to just be the mosquito.
I would think so.
That was it.
I mean, I don't know if we want to, these are kind of minor things in that. I don't know if we want to pass it, we can always amend it.
What's the pleasure of
But
the
one,
board?
well, one of the questions is, do you have a final page? Because they're all separated into the separate categories, but we don't have a final estimated revenue, estimated expense, what the difference is. Do you have that, Ms. Coutinho?
No, I do not.
Could you, because I don't think we should be passing the budget in that unless we see the total, because you can't really look at each individual category, because we're gonna have a lot of high expenses coming up with the Pike Street project, with the other ones with the park, and I think we need to start doing that. And were you able to get a 3 or 5 year budget?
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay, Mr. Evans, given
I'm just-
your comments, would you like to table till March so that we can fill in.
When's the date? We had to have the final budget by the 31st of March?
I believe it is
Yeah.
by April 1st.
I'd move to table.
Yeah.
And I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And with those comments, let's get those to Mr. Kirby. And I would recommend that we have Mr. Kirby, if we're going to look forward to adopting this at the March 4th meeting, that we have Mr. Kirby here as well to answer any additional questions that we may have. Very good.
Mr. President, doesn't his contract expire at the end of this month?
It was not, there was no set time period. It was a resolution that indicated
Just
that
the
it was
amount.
based on money, which we still have, dollars left over, so there's no termination date.
We have item B, a motion to purchase a Rhino driver and accessories. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for this.
Is there a
I'll
second? Discussion. Based on some of the comments we've had here tonight, I know you've looked into this. Road superintendent looked into this. It's like $4,200, so.
It's for the complete system, all the accessories, for the different size pipes, case included, and I believe a repair kit in there. There are, as the resident indicated, there are cheaper options. I mean, you've got post drivers, you can probably get at Home Depot and that too. It just depends, but I think we're looking at long-term equipment that's gonna last, and I believe it's warranted. They've been asking for it for a year.
I just think that anytime we get an estimate, we need to at least get three, especially, we should set them out, say it's $2,000 or more, or $1,500, whatever the board decides, but we need to get at least three estimates, not just for the one and then go. That's not wise.
This was on the state bid contract, correct, Mr. Evans?
No, it is not state bid. They provided government pricing.
Right.
There are, like I said, it's just like a vehicle. I mean, you can buy a Kia, or you can buy a heavy duty truck. Each one has different
Right.
different properties and expected lifestyle. But one of the things I will say is I think we can't just get the cheapest in that. We tried that with one of the blowers, $400 blower. That thing burned up, I mean, quickly. You've got to get some quality equipment, and that, I believe that's what this is. There are others that are slightly cheaper. You know, this is about being safe for our employees, because right now they're manually pounding it. I mean, they're out of gas afterwards.
We discussed that. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'm ready to call the question.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, the garage repair, I know we have a quote for that.
Yeah, reached out to the contractor that performed the work on the fire stations. The chief and others were indicating that it was exemplary work. Wanted to kind of get an idea, ballpark of what it was to install the ribs with exposed fasteners. Originally, he gave a ballpark of about $23,000, came in at $29,000. If you go to standing seam, which I think we should look at and do, because it's got hidden fasteners, you don't have the maintenance, even though with the improvements of the new rubber and the fasteners, you still need to address it. I have reached out, and I agree with getting other estimates. I mean, if this was something that was $15,000, I'd be comfortable moving forward. But we're talking more, $30,000, $40,000. I've reached out to a manufacturer. They have some preferred vendors that they put me in contact with one. I'm waiting to hear back from them. I sent them all the dimensions, photos, and all that. One of the things on this is when they installed the current roof 8 years ago, they installed it over 2 layers of existing shingles, which you should not do with metal roofs. So what the quotes are to rip it down, and even the roof substrate, the decking is too thin. So it's just replacing with the proper thing, doing it right to keep that building around that we're gonna be using for a while. So what I plan on doing is, again, searching for, I'd like to get at least 3 and kind of see where they're at, but at least if I can get another one, if they're in the ballpark, I don't know if we want to put it out to bid, or one of the other options is just putting it out to bid.
Well, it's not required to go out to bid, given the amount. I support the work, at least at the fire station, looks to be of high quality. And I agree, it's worth the standing seam with some of the positives on that as well. So if you can get other bids, the only other thing I would say, since I have actually looked at that, is that I'm concerned about the rafters too. I know the plywood needs to go, and I think you're looking at what, 5/8 is the recommendation to replace?
Yes, the 5/8 on that, and like you said, there's different things to do, but if you're talking about the rafters, if any are damaged with the water coming in,
Right.
obviously they'd have to be repaired. But if not, like I said, currently there's 2 layers of asphalt with the metal roof.
Right.
So going just to a straight metal roof, it reduces roof load extensively.
So you want to keep this on the agenda for the next meeting?
For the next meeting, yeah, I'm gonna push, I have not heard, I heard back from the manufacturer, and he copied in the installer, so I haven't heard back from the installer directly. I'll push them for a response while still looking for others.
Very good. Thank you. And it's obviously inclement weather anyway, so that'll be fine. We'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Item D has already been addressed by the township administrator regarding the hiring of a township administrator. Fiscal officer's report, we have resolution 2025-007, and that is to approve the purchase order. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Well, second, if I can find it, is, and that's another thing I'd request in the diligence system. These are easy to upload into it, to have it there. It's not, the payments aren't, the PO's not for the resolution, for the
Very good.
purchase orders, so.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead, fiscal officer.
Do you have a
Continue.
printed copy of that?
I can get your printed copy, yes.
Does anybody have a printed copy?
I don't believe I did.
Nope. You didn't make a copy? I sent the
I'm sorry, what? It's okay.
copy of the POs.
So I'm just concerned of passing stuff that we don't have in front of us.
Oh, that's fine, Mr. Evans, I agree.
I don't know when it was emailed, or if there's any changes made to it.
The payment list was emailed to Holly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we got
Not
it.
the resolution.
But not the resolution.
Correct.
Trying to find the PO.
Thank you.
Exactly what it was. Thank you, Jackie.
Are we switching over to just doing the exact POs for each expense, or like, for Jonathan Deere? I'm guessing, yeah, those are for boots.
He only gets them once a year.
Right, but as everybody else, like, I think they could do it up to 250. We have 5 guys. Should we just
It's
1250
PO
PO?
every check. So it's better to do the PO per person.
You can't, just in the beginning of the year, we got 5 guys, a PO for 1250
No, I
for
have
boots.
4 guys that have gotten the boots, I have 1 guy that's waiting until spring.
I see what you're saying, Mr.
You know what I'm saying?
Evans. Yeah, a PO
I mean,
authorizing.
and it really just, I guess at the pleasure of the fiscal officer, how you want to do it.
Is it the same vendor?
No,
No, they're just going out and purchasing.
No, it's not the same vendor, that's the problem.
Oh, okay.
One of them went to.
I understand what you're saying,
One
if
of
it
them
were a
went to-
blanket.
What's that?
Okay,
Red Wing?
Red tip or red sauce.
so we had the motion and the second, correct?
Who did the motion?
No.
Rosalind made the motion and, Mark seconded it.
Second it?
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions, please?
The only, okay, so that's the Taylor Road, the loan payment.
Right.
All right.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Is there a motion to ratify the payment of the bills as shown on the payment listing, which you should have in front of you?
Yep, so moved.
Is there a second? I'll second. Discussion?
Yeah, I'd move to remove Bricker and Graydon in the amount of $1921.50 because it was not authorized.
Is there a second to the amendment? I think we've,
We've been there before, so, yeah.
there's no second, the amendment fails. Further discussion, I feel we need to pay our bills, and that was a carryover, a continuance,
That
so.
you cannot, ORC, you cannot continue like that. Should have been addressed in December. It's not that hard.
Well, Mr. Evans, we've had a lot of challenges at the end of the year in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter, if you haven't noticed,
It's
so.
just as easy to do it right
I'll
as
take a
wrong.
roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, motion passes. Any transfers?
Yes. I took 50,000 from the general fund and put it into the HRA fund. Not the fund, but the bank account. And then I closed out the ARPA bank account because we've sent the money on the sheriff's department. So we no longer have that ARPA fund. So that bank account is closed. That's all.
Any other questions for the fiscal officer?
Do we have to approve those transfers?
Yeah, I would say so. So is there a motion?
Should,
You don't have that form.
don't we have to, isn't that?
Well, is that ARPA's, well, the ARPA's in the general fund, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And what was the understanding? It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Evans, I think that, did the previous fiscal officer said if it's in the same fund, you don't need to?
Well, it depends what funds and hierarchies and that, but I believe that many of the times, I think initially she was doing it without approval and then found that it did require approval. The auditors had indicated something, so I mean, if we're transferring, I think it's good to see the fund number amount to fund number amount.
I didn't take a fund to a fund. I took a bank account to a bank account. So out of the bank account, the general bank account, which I paid all the bills, I put $50,000 into the HRA account.
Which is a separate checking account?
Yes.
Yes, I
What's your-
tracked that.
But isn't that still a fund? It's still one account to another account.
Well, it's actually the checking, yeah, you're correct, the checking account.
I mean, UAN, it's a line item.
They set that up separately, am I correct, so that the reimbursements would come out of a separate account so you
Yes.
could track it?
I just think for documentation purposes, if we have it written of account to account, it's easier to keep track of.
So let's get clarification, let's make sure we're doing that correctly with Mr. Kirby, a follow-up, I agree, Mr. Evans. Let's make sure. Do you want to make a motion on that then, in this case then, given what we've been reported?
Well, would there need to be any motion?
That's my question. You
I
feel,
would think, I mean, if we're not gonna do it, we're not gonna do it. I don't feel comfortable
okay, then
approving any transfers without something
then we'll
written.
move on. Public comments, anyone like to speak at this time? 2 minutes, down from 3 to 2. Come to the podium, state your name and address.
Might take me 2 minutes to get up there, so.
Well, I'm not gonna start the clock yet. I'm not gonna start the clock.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Phyllis Bundy, 10254 Tollgate Road. Last time we were here, we asked about the possibility of getting snow fence installed on Tollgate Road.
Correct.
We know that it has to be 100 feet back. I mean, we've lived out here forever, so we know it has to go back in the field. But this past time, it continues with wrecks taking out, it almost took out the electric pole this time, but the person was smashed in between it and the electric pole this time. So it's as though, and we know people don't know how to drive in snow. It's nothing that's taught. But if you come up through there, they're going too fast, so they're either going off one side or off the other. And the road, luckily, the deputy was there to close off the road enough so people could get turned around and get out of there. So we're just wondering if that's possible. I don't know for this year, but maybe next year.
I know there's been discussion with the road superintendent regarding that, so was the objective to get it still done this year, or? I know there's been talk about possibly doing it next year with the road superintendent.
We're just wondering when, if it's been
Well,
discussed.
what I would ask is that the staff follow up with that, and, because we'd have to get permission, correct, from the farm?
Well, if
or-
it's on the, if it's on a county road, it's, it's up to, but if it's in a township, it's up to us as a board to vote to spend money to buy
Used to
them.
be, we had it in there and the township approved it. It was the township that put it in and they didn't have to have approval from anyone since it was on the township road.
Yeah, as long as they're on the township road.
How close was it to the roadway?
It's a
It was
township.
set back in the field, right?
It's on the property owners. I think you have to work in coordination. I've looked at this before. I've got some resources as to the design of it, requirements. It's pretty specific.
Yeah.
So I would have liked to see it done already, but I would say at minimum next year.
Okay.
Could you, any specifics you have of what was done in the past, what distance, where it was located?
It was 100 feet back.
100 feet back, and how long?
It's between our house and the next house down the road.
Mr. Burkholder, there's specific design parameters out there for that. It just depends, and the length of it breaks between.
Well,
and-
let's get
and
with,
that,
let's
so-
get with our road superintendent then and get the details and put it together.
Okay. Thank
See
you.
what it takes, but thanks for coming back.
Sure.
Thank you. Anyone else this time? Okay, our next meeting is Tuesday, March 4th at 6 p.m. And it's my understanding there's a new community authority meeting tomorrow. Is that correct? The 19th at 6 p.m. here. It's on the website, on the listserv.
It's on the listserv, and it's gonna be on the website here when I get done.
And
I
did
just
we-
got the information before the meeting.
Okay, as far as the packet, is that correct?
And it is
Mr.
on the bulletin board on the outside of the town hall.
Right, and Mr. Davis, do you have anything you want to add? I mean, I'll give you time unless... Okay. The board should have copies of those documents as well. There's several documents in there, and one has to do with the agreement on the $125,000 that has been pledged for the High Point Park, which would be a reimbursement pledge once we get construction costs, but there's quite a few documents in there. And am I correct? I believe there are also some documents regarding any new companies joining the NCA. Some of the agreements, quite a few documents there from the attorney. Is there any comments from the board on that?
Well, the only thing, because those are the documents I've been asking for quite a while, it was indicated that at the last property to join it, there was a provision in there that required all future properties, commercial properties to join. Apparently that's not so. So there is no restrictions on that. Whether we do want to encourage that or not, it'll be up to the board, but it was important to at least know the facts of what's required or not. So we finally got that.
Good, I appreciate that.
Before we move on to, are we addressing the survey? This was on the desk.
Yes, that was approved to be signed. We
Okay.
approved that at the last meeting, so I take it, that'd be the Williams survey that they're gonna walk, yeah. So
Because I believe that they were still emailing, have they been given that go-ahead. As far as yesterday or this morning, I thought they did not, were they forwarded this approved agreement?
It's not been signed
It
yet.
should have been signed today. We thought we would be signing it tonight.
Yeah,
Well, didn't we authorize the
Yes.
administrator to sign it?
yeah, and then
Yeah,
the
I'm
minister,
the one signing it.
Oh, okay.
she'll be the one
So you get it?
signing it.
Yeah, I got it in my, it's on my desk, literally,
Okay, ready to go.
with a note that says
Right.
sign.
Let's do it.
Has it been provided to them? Or you have not signed it yet?
She's not
I have
signing
not
it.
signed it yet.
Okay. I just know that they've been asking for it since it was February, I think, 4th or meeting, and they provided this the 5th. I just want to make sure that we timely respond to the individuals.
Any other trustee comments at this time or announcements?
Well, I do have a few comments on some of the things. Mr. Bondi, again, asked if this is the right group. This is the right group because we should be providing oversight to the entire township and its operations. And that's one thing I've been pushing for is getting information to people when they ask. I've been pushing for I don't know how long about the zoning violations, and I've actually been told that the zoning inspector was told to close them and move on. And I've asked about that, and that's highly concerning. I've heard that from another individual, because there's been a lot of zoning violations that were closed in the system that I knew weren't addressed. And one was the individual that came here behind the grocery store, that was closed. And
That is still pending.
or that was not addressed, but all the other ones were closed. And again, I've asked who directed the zoning inspector to close it and move on. I've not heard who that was. I don't know if they want to speak up here.
Well, yeah, I'll speak up when you're done.
Okay. But another individual asked about, we should see the budget before we vote on it. And that's what the diligence system's for. It's easy to load in there. And not only for us to adjudicate the matters here, but to be transparent to the public. So we really need to get that information in there. It's a great system and easy to use. And regarding Mr. Hansen's project, comment about the public records, I've been pushing for that review for I don't know how long. It's just been withheld. I kept hearing next month. It's very simple to just get the approval and then move to the prosecutor. Just let me finish. I did the courtesy of not having to speak up during public comments, so I'm hoping we can get to some kind of normalcy here. But I'll make it as brief as possible here. But no, the things need to be reviewed, and as soon as they are, should be published. But there's no reason for that kind of a delay in the process there. But as I said, there's a lot of issues that even I have to perform public records requests to get documents, and they're still ignored. That's not right. And until those kind of shenanigans end, we're not going to be able to move forward. And we should be able to address simple things in here for the public, because it does have an effect on people's quality of life, safety. And I've been pushing before, now maybe not much of a concern about speeding, but targeted enforcement of traffic law. Why aren't we doing it? Why is there such aversion to not do that? It's just a lot of those things are just mind-boggling, and I was hopeful that one of the applicants for administrator would move us forward. They pulled their application. I mean, this is the 4th person within a year pulling their applications, and we need to move forward and start doing things right. And it's the little things like not getting approval for the law firm where ORC requires it, but we're going to do it anyway. Or we need to follow the law. This isn't our lemonade stand where we can just give somebody else, double, and it's not hard to follow it. That's all I have.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I have concerns that our administrator, her last day is the 28th of this month. And again, Mr. Evans mentioned the one gentleman that withdrew his resume for the position. And right now we don't have somebody in mind. So my concern is we may be without an administrator in this township. So just want to make the public know that we are trying to work to make something happen, but don't look like right now we have somebody in place for that. So,
Yeah, and I'll be happy to answer some of the questions, Mr. Evans, because you made that accusation before. No one directed the current zoning inspector to close those. Those were closed by the previous zoning inspector. Yes, they were, because I spoke to it immediately. If you want to know about the market, we've been out there and we've talked to that person. We've had detailed conversations with the administrator and zoning inspector regarding Palmer. Some of those vehicles have been removed, not all of them, but once again, it comes down to staffing. So I don't appreciate you constantly making false accusations when, quite frankly, you have little appreciation or knowledge of the day-to-day operations. We are severely understaffed. We do take these things seriously, so to continue to say that we don't take that or public safety seriously is not true. I know the zoning violations, some of the comments we've had here tonight, they're good questions. And these are very complex issues, as the administrator said, particularly some of these development sites. We have the gentleman that came in here tonight. We had to get that outside counsel to review that. We passed a resolution tonight. I know that didn't satisfy you, Mr. Evans. You were against it, but now we can move forward with some of these things and get them forwarded to outside counsel so we can keep moving things forward.
The only thing
I'll tell you, no, let me finish now. The other thing I'll say, it is hard, it is difficult to attract good candidates here because of all the venom that has been spewed out there on Facebook, and you are the primary culprit, Mr. Evans. You attack me on a daily basis. I'm going to sit here and take it. But I resent the fact that you don't have your facts, and your histrionic behavior is detrimental to this township. So if you really want to get things moving forward, it's about 3 trustees not always agreeing, but working together in a civil and professional manner. And for 3 years, you have been incapable. You are incapable of working with others, and you will continue to be incapable all of this year, and you demonstrate it at every single meeting, and that's all I have to say.
No, sir. I have fought against mismanagement, the corruption, the illegality for over 7 years, over 3 as a trustee. But our zoning inspector told me personally that he closed all the open ones. It wasn't closed by the former zoning inspector. We have a resident here that was also told that he was told to close and move on.
May I address that? I am the person that gave the directive.
Well, Mr. Burkholder is saying nobody gave the directive, that I'm lying.
So here is the directive that I gave to if you will recall, remember when I sent out that first list of all of the zoning violations, and I said, look, this is just out of control because there were many, most of them actually were outstanding, were listed in the system as outstanding and had not been taken care of by the previous zoning inspector. So what my directive was to go through each of those, because many of them, they did have resolution. We had the file, it was resolved, they just never closed it in the system. So that's why when I ran that report for you guys, it was just full of old violations. So my directive was confirm that it has been, and then close it. If they should have closed it back then, close it now so that we get it out of our system so that it doesn't come up on our report every time we run that.
Well,
but it was my directive. I know exactly what I said. And that for anything, but that every single one was to be checked, to be confirmed that it had been closed,
but they were not. And that's where I think the oversight's lacking.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
We stay adjourned. Thank you for coming.
18 votes, my last meeting.